Okay, picture this. The world's just been, wiped clean. Floodwater's gone. There's this incredible rainbow, God's promise hanging in the sky. A huge, epic moment, right? Judgment and grace
Yeah,
all wrapped up.
absolutely monumental.
But then, like almost straight away, the story takes this sharp turn. Really human, a story that honestly still kind of trips people up today.
It really does.
So, okay, let's dig into this. We're looking at Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 to 25.
Sure.
It's short, yeah, but man, there's a lot packed in there about us, about families, about how choices echo.
That's exactly it. And what we want to do here is really get under the skin of this story. Not just what happened, but why. Why does this ancient drama still, speak to us?
Right.
We'll hit on some human weakness, starkly different reactions from the family members, and this really confusing curse, actually.
Yeah.
All while remembering that huge promise God just made.
Yeah, that backdrop is crucial.
It forces us to think about things like responsibility, respect, and just how much our choices matter.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Noah's new start. After everything, the ark, the flood, he's described here, Genesis 9:20, as a man of the soil. And what's the first thing he does?
He plants a vineyard, goes back to the earth.
Yeah, it goes back to farming, which it makes you think of Adam, doesn't it? Back in Genesis 2, told to work the garden, Noah's kind of restarting everything here.
That's a fantastic point. That phrase, man of the soil, ish, hadama in Hebrew, it directly echoes Adam, hadama. It's like Noah is Adam 2.0 almost.
Right, the refounder.
Exactly. He's cultivating the earth again, planting the seeds for the future. But, and this is maybe the sobering part, it doesn't take long for things to go sideways.
No, it really doesn't.
Almost immediately, verse 21 tells us Noah drinks wine from his vineyard, gets drunk, and is uncovered in his tent.
Exposed, vulnerable.
Right. And what I find amazing is how the Bible just lays it out there. No sugarcoating. Even this guy, Noah, called blameless for his time back in Genesis 6.
Yeah, the hero of the story.
Even he's flawed. He's human.
Mm-hmm.
His righteousness wasn't like superhuman perfection.
Yeah.
It just shows how quickly human frailty pops back up,
Yeah.
even after this massive divine event.
It's really honest about its heroes, isn't it? Doesn't hide the messy bits. And that vulnerability, that's where the conflict really kicks off.
Exactly.
Because then Ham, who the text makes sure to tell us is the father of Canaan, he sees his father naked, and then crucially, he told his two brothers outside. Now, today, we might read that and think, okay, maybe that was a bit tactless, gossipy, like, hey guys, dad's passed out drunk.
Right. Sounds maybe just embarrassing.
But the story treats this seeing and telling as way, way more serious, like a turning point. Why? What are we missing about their world?
Yeah, you really got to get the cultural vibe back then. This wasn't just like a casual observation. It was loaded.
How so?
Well, in these ancient Near Eastern cultures, everything revolved around honor and shame, especially within the family. A father's authority, his dignity was huge. Seeing him naked wasn't just seeing skin, it was seeing his vulnerability, his loss of status, basically.
Okay, so it's symbolic.
Highly symbolic. And for a son to see that, it could imply looking with contempt, not just accidentally stumbling upon it. Some later traditions even wonder if it was worse than just seeing, though the text itself focuses on the seeing and telling.
But the telling part is key too, right? He goes outside the tent.
Absolutely key. He doesn't just see it, he broadcasts it. He takes his father's private shame and makes it public to his brothers. That's a direct hit on his father's honor. It's deeply disrespectful.
Like a power play almost, shaming the father to elevate himself.
It could definitely be read that way. A real breakdown of the respect a son was supposed to show. It's the opposite of protecting family honor.
Which makes the contrast with Shem and Japheth just incredible.
Oh, completely. Night and day.
So they hear about it, and Genesis 9:23 says they take a garment, they walk in backward, and cover their father. They don't even look.
Yeah, the backward walk is amazing. Total intentionality there.
They actively avoid seeing the shame. They go out of their way to restore his dignity. It's more than just, oh, let's cover him up. It's an act of deep respect.
Precisely. It's like a masterclass in how to handle that situation in their culture. They aren't just covering a physical body, they're covering the shame. They're restoring the family honor that Ham jeopardized. It connects to other ideas later in the Bible, like in Leviticus, where it says you should stand up for the elderly, show respect. Shem and Japheth are living that out. They protect their father's vulnerability.
Even though it was kind of self-inflicted vulnerability from the drinking.
It doesn't matter to them in that moment. Their focus is on honoring their father. It really makes you think, doesn't it? When we see someone else stumble or fail, do we point it out? Or do we try to, cover them with some compassion?
Yeah, expose or cover. That's a stark choice. Okay, so this brings us to the really tough part, the part that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
The curse.
Yeah. Noah wakes up, figures out what Ham did. The text says what his younger son had done to him, and he doesn't curse Ham directly. He curses Canaan, Ham's son.
Cursed be Canaan. The lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers. That's verse 25.
It feels off, doesn't it? Like, why punish the grandson? Ham did the deed, and lowest of slaves. That sounds incredibly harsh. This is a real knot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ethically, theologically.
It is. It's one of the most debated parts of this story, for sure. And yeah, the ripple effect here is complicated. It goes beyond just Ham and Canaan to whole peoples.
So why Canaan? Any ideas?
Well, there are a few main ways scholars look at it. One big one is seeing it as prophetic.
Prophetic how?
Canaan, in the bigger biblical story, represents the nations that Israel would later conflict with, right?
Yeah.
The Canaanites. You see them listed right after this in Genesis 10. So the idea is this curse isn't just Noah being angry at Ham in that moment. It's looking ahead, foretelling the future relationship between the descendants of Shem, who become Israel, and the descendants of Canaan, their eventual subjugation.
So it's less about personal payback and more about predicting the future political landscape.
That's one major interpretation, yeah. It frames it as part of a larger divine plan or foresight about how history would unfold between these groups.
But still, the idea of a descendant suffering for what an ancestor did, that's tough for us to swallow today.
It is tough from our individualistic perspective. In the ancient world, though, the family line, the patriarch's actions, they were seen as having massive consequences for everyone down the line. Think legacy, trajectory.
So Ham's disrespect sets a negative trajectory for his line, represented by Canaan.
Kind of. Some also connect it to the nature of Ham's offense, disrespecting the father's authority, and, potentially, his procreative dignity. So the consequence falls on his line, his offspring, represented by Canaan. And that phrase, lowest of slaves, or servant of servants. It might not always mean literal chattel slavery, but perhaps points to a state of political subservience, or being at the bottom of the social ladder, which, again, fits the later historical picture with the Canaanites and Israelites.
Okay, so it's complex. It's reflecting cultural values, maybe prophetic insight, and historical realities all tangled together.
Exactly. It's not straightforward.
Which leads to another tension. Just before this whole family drama, we had God's huge promise. The covenant of grace, the rainbow, never again will I flood the earth. Unconditional, beautiful.
Yeah, Genesis 9.15, a foundational promise.
So how does that fit with this curse? It feels like a clash. Does Noah's curse somehow undermine God's promise of grace?
That's such a crucial question. And the answer, I think, has to be no. God's covenant promise, symbolized by that rainbow, stands firm. It's about his faithfulness to all creation, his promise not to destroy the world that way again. It's unwavering. Think Malachi 3.6, I, the Lord, do not change.
Okay, so God's big promise holds.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean human actions suddenly have no consequences. Within God's faithful framework, our choices, our sins, they still matter. They still have real effects in the world.
So God isn't stepping in to stop the fallout from Ham's actions or Noah's reaction.
It seems not in this case. He allows the human drama, the consequences to unfold. The curse is presented as Noah's prophetic utterance, likely with divine insight, stemming from Ham's character and actions. It's not God retracting his grace, it's human actions having results, sometimes results that stretch across generations.
Right, like God's overall commitment is secure, but within that, human responsibility is still very real.
Perfectly put. The Bible shows this pattern again and again, right? God stays faithful to his covenant with Israel, even when they mess up, but they still face the consequences of their choices. This story shows that same dynamic right at the beginning of the post-flood world. Grace is there, but accountability is too.
Wow. Okay, so this ancient story, Noah's failure, Ham's disrespect, Shem and Japheth's honor, the curse, it's dense. So bringing it home, what's the takeaway for us? How does this speak into our lives today?
Oh, I think it speaks volumes. First off, we're all a bit like Noah, aren't we? Called to do good things, maybe seen as righteous in some ways, but still totally capable of messing up, of having moments of weakness.
Yeah, that vulnerability is relatable.
Totally. And then we're also like his sons. Every day, we face situations where we see someone else's vulnerability or failure. Maybe it's small, maybe big. Do we react like Ham, exposing or gossiping? Or like Shem and Japheth?
Choosing to protect, to cover with respect.
Exactly. Their action is such a powerful model. It makes me think of that verse in Ephesians 4.32. Be kind and compassionate, forgiving each other. It's that active choice to protect dignity, show compassion, cover the shame, not pile on.
Active compassion. I like that. Not just turning a blind eye, but actively shielding.
Right. And the story definitely hammers home that our choices matter long term. The way we treat people, the way we handle our own failings, how we talk about others, it creates a ripple effect, a legacy.
Yeah, for our families, our communities.
For sure. What kind of legacy are we building? One of honor and kindness or something else? And maybe the final thing is, even with all the failures and consequences, that rainbow promise is still overhead, metaphorically speaking. God's grace is bigger than our mistakes.
So responsibility and grace holding them together.
Exactly. We're accountable, our choices have weight, but grace is always the final word, covering our shame just like that rainbow covers the earth.
That's powerful. So we've walked through Noah's story, the human frailty after the flood, the stark choices of his sons, the difficult legacy of the curse, and how it all sits under God's enduring promise.
Yeah, quite a journey in just a few verses. And it leaves us, I think, with a really practical question to chew on. Thinking about Ham choosing to expose and Shem and Japheth choosing to cover. How are your choices day to day when you encounter vulnerability, your own or someone else's? How are those choices shaping things, not just for now, but maybe for the future, for the legacy you leave behind?